Valid AZ-800 Administering Windows Server Hybrid Core Infrastructure Dumps questions can guarantee you success in the first attempt. 1. You need to meet the technical requirements for User 1. The solution must use the principle of least privilege. What should you do? A. Add users 1 to the server operators group in contoso.com. B. Create a delegation on contoso.com. C. Add users 1 to the account operators group in contoso.com. D. Create a delegation on OU3. 2. You need to meet the technical requirements for VM2. What should you do? A. Implement shielded virtual machines. B. Enable the Guest Services Integration Service. C. Implement Credential Guard. D. Enable Enhanced Session Mode. 3. You need to implement a name resolution solution that meets the networking requirements. Which 2 actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Note: each correct selection is worth 1 point. A. Create an Azure private DNS zone named corp.fabcam.com. B. Create a virtual network link in the cowip.fabencom.com Azure private DNS zone. C. Create an Azure DNS zone named corp.fabricam.com. D. Configure the DNS server settings for VNet1. E. Enable auto-registration in the corp.fabencom.com Azure private DNS zone. F. On DC3, install the DNS server role. G. Configure a conditional forwarder on DC3. 4. You need to configure remote administration to meet the security requirements. What should you use? A. Just-in-time JIT VM access. B. Azure AD Privileged Identity Management PIM. C. The Remote Desktop Extension for Azure Cloud Services. D. An Azure Bastion host. 5. You are planning the implementation Azure Arc to support the planned changes. You need to configure the environment to support configuration management policies. What should you do? A. Hybrid Azure AD join all the servers. B. Create a hybrid runbook worker Azure automation. C. Deploy the Azure Connected Machine Agent to all the servers. D. Deploy the Azure Monitor Agent to all the servers. 6. You have a server named Server1 that hosts Windows containers. You plan to deploy an application that will have multiple containers. Each container will be you need to create a Docker network that supports the deployment of the application. Which type of network should you create? A. Transparent. B. I2 bridge. C. NAT. D. I2 tunnel. 7. You plan to deploy a containerized application that requires .NET Core. You need to create a container image for the application. The image must be as small as possible. Which base image should you use? A. Nano Server. B. Server Coat. C. Windows Server. D. Windows. 8. You have 5 tile servers that run Windows Server. You need to block users from uploading video files that have the .mov extension to shared folders on the file servers. All other types of files must be allowed. The solution must minimize administrative effort. What should you create? A. A dynamic access control central access policy. B. A file screen. C. A dynamic access control central access rule. D. A data loss prevention DLP policy. 9. You have an on-premises Active Directory Domain Services ADDS domain that syncs with an Azure Active Directory Azure AD tenant. You plan deploy 100 new Azure virtual machines that will run Windows Server. You need to ensure that each new virtual machine is joined to the ADDS domain. What should you use? A. Azure AD Connect. B. A Group Policy Object GPO. C. An Azure Resource Manager ARM template. D. An Azure Management Group. 10. You have an on-premises Active Directory Domain Services ADDS domain that syncs with an Azure Active Directory Azure AD tenant. You have several Windows 10 devices that are Azure AD hybrid joined. You need to ensure that when users sign into the devices, they can use Windows Hello for Business. Which optional feature should you select in Azure AD Connect? A. Device write-back. B. Group write-back. C. Password write-back. D. Directory extension attribute sync. E. Azure AD app and attribute filtering.